Hey, welcome to Tales from the Troll Hole. I'm your host, Cecil Beee, and together we're going to dive deep into the internet and find what stories there are to be read, enjoyed, laughed at, cried with, you name it. Thanks for coming along on this journey with me. Now grab your torch and pitchfork. Let's dive into this troll hole. Hello, everybody. It's been a while since the last episode. I took a little bit of a break. I went on a nice little vacation, and I took some time to rest. And we've also had a bit of a snowstorm up here and been doing a lot of cool hikes. Basically just taking some time for me, you know? Sometimes you just gotta do it to them. And by that I mean, sometimes you just gotta do whatever you want. So today, I don't remember what I said I was going to talk about at the end of the previous episode. So there's a 98% chance that this is completely different. Because once again, I'm doing it to them and doing whatever I want. Today, I thought we would look at some of the strangest coincidences people have ever experienced. Not because I've had a large coincidence happen, but just because the human brain is fascinating in its desire to seek meaning and patterns where there aren't any. Kind of like the thing where your brain wants to see a face in like the textured popcorn walls, or if there's holes in the side of a box, or if windows on a house make it look like there's a face. Our brains just want to find reason amidst chaos. And so coincidences to me are very fascinating. So anyhow, let's take a look and see what the internet has to say in that regard. Our first coincidence story comes from user Bongo Goblogian on Reddit. When I was in the early stages of dating my spouse, I brought her to my hometown to meet my parents. While looking at an old family photo album, she pointed to a picture and said, "How do you know this man?" I answered, "That's my uncle." And she said, "No, he's my uncle." Turns out her mother's sister married my mother's brother. Okay. Great. For a second, I thought this was going to be an unfortunate story, but no, they're not related by blood at all. But that's wild. Oh man, that's so strange. I don't even know. That would probably freak me out. I would have to take a moment and take a walk to the park to let that settle. Next is a story from username Oliver Johansson on Reddit. I was living in America and went for holidays to Mexico. There, I matched with a hot Mexican girl on Tinder in Cancun. We chatted, but never met. I never unmatched her, neither did she. A year later, I have noticed her 2 miles away. She was a summer student in the same town in the UK where I relocated. I messaged her. She still didn't want to meet. Oh, that's so funny. So, like, you go somewhere, you go to Cancun, match with somebody, chat, doesn't go anywhere, that's fine. But then you go back home, and then she's a summer student in your hometown. Because I guess on Tinder it shows distance. I don't know shit about Tinder. I have no idea. But, man, that's kind of funny. She's still like, no thanks, I'm all set. I love that. Because you're expecting it to be like, and then we got married and everything was great. No, it's just, I'm good. I'm going to be honest. That kind of sounds like it could be like a subplot on an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I just feel like it just screams Larry David to me. Up next is a story from user Wizard of Words. When I was a kid, we used to drive past this old abandoned school on a hill on the way to the grocery store. I always thought it would be cool to make it a house and live there. Years later, someone tore down the school and built a house there. I was an adult then and had my own kids and was living in a house with a leaky basement. As I was driving my kids to the grocery store, I would pass this house and think, it must be nice and dry living up on that hill. I bet he doesn't have a leaky basement. Fast forward a few more years. I am divorced and remarried. We are looking to buy a house. A guy my wife works with is selling his house. It turns out that he had that very same house on the hill. I live here now, and I'm writing this comment for my nice, dry house on the hill. That's fun. It's kind of like you manifested living in that house. I think that's so cool. Good for you. Good for you, pal. This next one is from user Explosively Inert. I used to work at a movie theater. One day, a group of people from an organization that helps mentally handicapped people experience a sense of normalcy in their life came through the theater. They each had their own cash and came to concessions for candy and popcorn. One girl in my line had a bunch of candy but was $1.25 short. And when I told her this, she had this look of defeat and was about to start crying, so I just told her she was fine and covered it myself. She happily took her candy and went to watch her movie. The next day, I got a keep the change tip from a random customer of $1.25. That was the only tip I ever got at that job. Wow, that's so nice. That's awesome. Yeah, and what a coincidence, too. See, that's what I mean. It's like trying to assign meaning to things that are completely random. We want to think that it has a purpose, and maybe it does, but also maybe it doesn't. And that right there is why this is so interesting to me. So you can take the optimistic route of the universe gives back what you give it. So the reciprocity and reaping what you sow. But also it could be entirely random. And I wouldn't say that that's necessarily a pessimistic way to look at it, because there is, of course, optimistic nihilism, which I enjoy greatly, because you can find joy in the chaos. I kind of think of life as we're spinning around in this tornado of events and time and experiences with other people. And you never really know what you're going to interact with in this cyclone of chaos. But if you're having a nice time enjoying the ride, that is cheerful nihilism. And so I really enjoy coincidences for that thought-provoking nature of them and how it interacts with what I believe the point of life is, which is to have a nice time and make life better for other people. But anyway, it's nice that you got that $1.25 back. Good for you. The next story comes from username Spinning Woman on Reddit. And they have flair under their username that says they're a top 1% commenter. I don't know. It's just a fact that you can feel any way you want about it, but I think it sounds like it's pretty cool, perchance. All right, here's their story. When I was a student in the 70s, I hitchhiked from Durham to Dundee with a friend to see a concert. It only took us 2 main lifts, a delivery lorry, which is like a bus, followed by a nice lady in a car. We didn't have anywhere to stay and ended up being allowed to sleep in the waiting room of a local hospital. The next morning, we were hitching outside the hospital and got picked up by the same woman. She dropped us in the same place she had picked us up at the same lorry driver picked us up from there and brought us the rest of the way back. What? That is incredible. You hitchhiked and got picked up by the same 2 people for the same legs of the journey on different days? That is bizarre. I think the biggest coincidence of all, though, is that you hitchhiked in the 70s and didn't get fucking murdered. That's crazy. Okay, quick side note about hitchhiking, y'all. I don't understand why it was ever okay to hitchhike. People want to say that it was a different time then. No, it fucking was not. The only difference is that news travels faster now, so it seems like whenever someone gets into a car with a stranger and something horrible happens, it's on the news 10 seconds later. But in the 60s, 70s, it took weeks or maybe never at all was heard about if something bad happened in a car. It was just you just didn't hear about it. So I think it happens at a similar frequency. You just hear more about it these days. So it was never okay to hitchhike. It was always a bad idea. And if you manage to do it and get out alive, A, congratulations on not dying. And B, what the fuck is wrong with you? I mean, being in a car with a stranger is literally a nightmare scenario for me. I don't even like getting my hair cut because I have to make small talk with a stranger. I cannot. Taking an Uber? Absolutely fucking not. I'll walk. I don't care. I'll walk 20 miles. I get so fired up about hitchhiking because it is probably the most asinine, dangerous. Talk about people get mad because people go wingsuiting and smash into rocks on accident. Hitchhiking is way stupider. And yes, I said stupider on purpose, and I will continue to say it because it makes sense and gets the point across. And just because somebody says it's not a word is also very stupid. But that is a rant for another time. Anyway, do not hitchhike. There are buses you can take. Jesus. The next story comes from user Quarters Sharp. Quarters Harp? Quarter Sharp? When I was 8, my best friend and his family came over to bring me a Christmas present. Guess what it is, my friend said. I had absolutely no idea, so I just said the weirdest, most random thing I could think of. An inflatable dinosaur, I guessed. And it was. It was gigantic. That is miraculous. I mean, your friend must have thought you were completely psychic. My dad has this infuriating gift where he can predict anything, any present you give him. You hand him the box or the bag or the giant wad of wrapping paper that you stuffed it in to throw him off, and he knows what it is every time. And we know he's not peeking because we'll bring the gift to his house. And we won't even consult him about what he wants. We'll just give him something, and he knows what it is. My grandpa did the same thing. My younger brother is starting to be able to have the same talent. I don't understand what this line of witchcraft is that runs in the male side of my family, but I am confused and alarmed about it. And I think we need to develop a kind of genealogy where you can detect witchcraft. There's got to be some sort of DNA sequence that is a marker for witchcraft. This needs more research. And down the line, if you're listening to this, I will accept the Nobel Prize for coming up with this idea. Not for doing any of the work, obviously, but for coming up with the idea, I will accept 1/20th of the Nobel Prize. How do you take 1/20th of a medal? Is it going to be part of the lanyard? Is it a shaving off the top? Are we going to cut it in slices like a pie? That requires another kind of Nobel Prize winner to figure that one out. Here's another story from username Incredigirl. That's nice. The summer before grade 5, my family moved 2 provinces west. I was sad to leave all my friends, but I was especially excited to get away from my bully, a loser named Jeff. Ooh, Jeff is spelled the stupid Geoff way also. If your name is spelled that way, it's okay. I just don't understand it. On my first day at my new school, the teacher introduced 2 new students to the class, me and my bully Jeff from 2 provinces away. We had both moved from the same small town, Saskatchewan, to the same small town, British Columbia. What are the chances? Damn, that is wild. The comment below says, was Jeff still a bully to you? And Incredigirl replies, no. We each fell in with a new group and did okay. He was only there for a year or 2, must have missed the flat cold of the prairies. Wow. Well, that's cool that he still was not a bully, but I mean, hopefully there was some sort of, I just kind of want there to be some sort of apology involved, but maybe it was just kind of a let bygones be bygones, we're kids situation. But yeah, what are the odds? I don't like that at all. I know that I have the thing where if you see somebody in a different context that you know them in, like if you see a coworker, but you see them at the movie theater or something, that's kind of hard for me. I have to think for a minute, like, what? You are not in the place that I know you from, that I exclusively interact with you in. it just kind of throws me for a loop. So I can't imagine that happening, but in different towns, in different areas of the country. That is so strange. All right. The next story comes from one of my favorite usernames I have ever seen on Reddit ever. Toots NYC. I used to spend my summers working in the office at a church camp in northern Iowa. I became friends with some of the people who spent their vacation there, especially this one little girl who would stay for 2 weeks every summer. I was sort of a big sister for the 2 weeks her family was there. Then came the summer I had my internship in New York City and I didn't go to camp. I was sort of bummed that I wouldn't see this girl. One weekend, a bunch of us decided to go to Washington, D.C., and I wore my staff shirt from the camp. It had a very distinctive set of stripes across the shoulders. While we were in the Smithsonian, I feel someone touch my arm. I turned around, and it is that little girl who was my friend. She and her parents had gone from Iowa to D.C. for part of their vacation. They'd missed me at camp that year, but they didn't quite believe her when she said she'd saw me until they spotted the stripes from across the room. Wow. Again, another case of I would probably think I was losing my mind for a second until my brain could piece together the person from the different place. I hope that they're still friends and that they still talk. That would just be terrific. Or what if, like, later down the line in life, you see each other again, like in some sort of like dentist's waiting room or something? How odd. Our next story comes from a deleted user on Reddit. My friend and I were on a road trip a few years ago and needed a place to stay. We both told each other that we had a friend in the city we were going through, so we figured we'd be able to crash with one of them. Turns out our two friends were roommates and had been telling each other that they had a friend coming into town soon. Jeez, man. Okay, the comment below says, if it was a sitcom, there would have been an exchange where the four of you would have called back and forth, canceling and rescheduling your stay since the other roommate's friend was staying over instead. Oh boy, that's so true. How fun. Although it was probably frustrating to realize that you could have traveled together. And here's a story from another deleted user. This guy I went to grade school and high school with is an acquaintance at best. I've seen him in 5 different locations in different countries throughout the last 15 years. In Disney World when I was a kid, some beach bar in Thailand, the Bean in Chicago, a pub in Budapest, and a library in San Jose, Costa Rica. We've become friends due to our love of traveling, but neither of us post on social media and neither of us communicated with each other about our plans to travel. We never talked outside of the random meetings. Now, if I see him, it's like the world wants us to have a beer together. Damn, I am kind of convinced that they're supposed to get married. Am I the only one? I think that they're supposed to kiss for sure at the next time that they see them. Absolutely. Here's a story from user Mofo Tofu. I dialed my mom on my mobile when I was on public transport and accidentally swapped 2 numbers around. The person I called was on the same carriage. Holy shit. That's insane. That's wild. The comment below says, why don't you have your mom as a contact? And the reply is, I don't have any of my family as a contact because 15 years ago, I had a car crash which threw my phone across the highway in Colorado. I couldn't ring my dad because I didn't know his number. Now I always type my mom, dad, brother, and partner's numbers in so that I'll always remember them so they're not saved on my phone. I see. So it's like you remember the numbers so that you don't rely on having the physical phone. So in case you lose your phone, you still know everybody's numbers. Old school, like how we used to do it. I mean, I'm lucky if I remember my own phone number. Oof. On the plus side, though, with all the extra memory space I save by not remembering any phone numbers, I can remember lots of memes. Here's a story from Lady Cat 1988. I was crossing the street after leaving a store and had the strangest feeling I was going to break my ankle, so I carefully avoided a vehicle coming my way. That evening, I went to pick up Thai food and fell, leaving the restaurant on less than a 4-inch step and shattered my ankle to the point of needing surgery, and after a year haven't fully healed. Ooh. Oh, that's terrible. The comment below says, one often meets his destiny on the road he takes to avoid it. From Master Uguay. I don't know what that quote is, but it's very nice. And ominous, actually. Maybe it's not nice at all. Maybe it's kind of a, just whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Optimistic nihilism. Also, I was going to say that we've come full circle, but that got me thinking about shapes. And why do we have to come full circle? Why can't we come like full oval? It's the same thing, especially if it takes a little longer to get there. But is the size of the circle relevant? I don't think so. And what if you have to take some turns? Like, why can't we arrive at something full triangle? Like you took 3 pivots and you got there. Why can't we go full rhombus? I'm going to start going full rhombus. Fuck it. Here is a story from username Alios. My dad lives in a national park here in Australia. It's farmland that's grandfathered in. It's the remnants of a volcano that blew itself up very violently, so it's very hilly terrain. One day, we were sitting out on the deck when we see a hang glider come down halfway down the valley, and it didn't look like a nice landing. Shit, we better see if he's all right. They don't usually land anywhere near here. So we get in the car, drive for about 10 minutes to reach the spot. We head over to the guy who's standing by a very damaged glider. The pilot is staring at us incredulously. He stammers, "Fuck. Jack, is that you?" And my dad, who hasn't seen his childhood friend for 35 years, shouts, "Fuck, Tim, is that you?" They both grew up in Greymouth, New Zealand. They found each other randomly after a glider crash in Australia. I'm so glad he was okay, too, because what a tragic thing if he had, gotten horribly injured or even died, and then that's how you, find your childhood oh, man. But it didn't happen, though. We're thinking happy thoughts. Our next story comes from user HCLP Fan. When I was a kid, around 13, I played a lot of a video game called Diablo 2. I started a clan with a few people I'd met on the internet, and we played every day. At some point, we were helping some random person, and he asked to join. We thought he was nice enough, so we let him in. As part of this clan, we had a shared account we used to store game items for each other. After about a month of playing, this new guy goes in and changes the password, steals the account, and defriends everyone. Completely disappears off the map with all our stuff. Fast forward a year later, and my family moves to Texas, and it's my first day at school. I'm sitting in algebra class talking to the person in the seat next to me, and he mentioned he plays Diablo. I said, me too, and that I ran a clan and everything. I asked his username, and it was him. 2,000 miles away from where I first virtually met this guy, he's sitting next to me in math class. When I told him mine, his face went into total shock, and he didn't know how to respond. It was awkward for sure. Ended up telling him I didn't care and it was over with, but let's just say we didn't end up becoming friends. Ooh, okay, my petty ass would have been like, that's right, I found you. Make it seem like you did it on purpose. What a rascal. That probably haunts him to this day. Damn. Speak of Diablo and he will appear. Well, this has been so fun. The coincidences. I'm going to have to do a second episode later on in the future where I talk about more coincidences because I am absolutely enthralled with what I've discovered. At this point, however, I would like to take it to one of my favorite subjects, frog facts. This collection of facts is from the National Park Services.gov. And these facts in particular are about the American bullfrog. Because now I think I want to get into specific frog facts, not just frog facts in general, but we're going to dial it in. We're going to get way, way into one kind of frog, and then maybe we'll do more frogs. Not maybe, we absolutely will cover lots of frog facts about all kinds of frogs. And then maybe we'll invent facts about imaginary frogs. Space frogs. Okay, anyway, the American bullfrog. The bullfrog has large, bulging eyes that sit at the top of their skulls. The location of their eyes gives frogs a wide frame of vision, which is important because they cannot move their heads from side to side. I did not ever think about that. I've never seen a frog turn its head. Absolutely not. That's lizard activity, not frogs. Damn. Only male bullfrogs croak. It sounds like jug-o rum. They croak to attract mates and establish territory. You can hear them singing in spring and summer during mating season. Frogs croak by breathing in, closing their nostrils, and then forcing air backwards and forwards between their lungs and vocal sac. A vocal sac? Like a bagpipe? Bullfrogs are carnivores. They eat crayfish, water beetles, snails, dragonfly nymphs, well, in parentheses, larvae, small fish, and occasionally small birds. Animals such as snapping turtles, foxes, herons, and raccoons eat bullfrogs. Damn. I knew that there were some kind of frogs that eat birds, but I did not think it was a bullfrog. For some reason in my head, I was like, are you sure you don't mean an alligator? Because they're from real far away. Maybe you'll think it's a close-up frog, but it's actually a far-away giant lizard. Also, I was thinking about it. Just the other day at work, I was just thinking about tadpoles because I just think about frogs a lot. And, okay, so a tadpole becomes a toad pal. Isn't that fucking ridiculous? Sometimes, man, I just can't handle how and I got to talk about hummingbirds sometimes because I think I'm getting to the age now where hummingbirds are really fucking cool. Okay? I accept it. That's just part of my life now. And also, I'm determined to make a pack of crows, a murder of crows, my friends. It's gonna happen. They're gonna bring me trinkets, and I will bring them things that are okay for them to eat. And that's what's gonna happen. That's all I've got for you this time, pals. So thank you for listening, and I'm going to think about frog facts while I fold my laundry. And I will see you next week for some more super fun stories. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to Tales from the Troll Hole. I'm your host, Cecil Beee, and this show is produced by me. Our theme song is by Vervex. They're a great band. You should give them a listen. You can stream them anywhere. They're also on TikTok and Instagram. Remember to subscribe so that you don't miss out on a single episode. And also find us on Instagram, and then you can send in your own stories. I just ask that they're true and that they're not going to scar somebody for life. You know what I mean? Anyway, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week.